Welcome to UCM's Leaf Summit campus and the AR, VR, Mixed Reality Gigabit Lab. All right, I can't say that backwards. So, but thanks for coming out today. We finally get to have an in-person event. I think we were slated to do this in October, even earlier than that, last year. So finally we were able to get out here, and I don't see any masks, so great. From a standpoint, we don't have to wear our masks today. So I'm DJ Good, and I'm with Velocity Leaf Summit. We've partnered with UCM and VML YR to help create and then also allow people to have access to the AR VR lab here at STA. God, there's a lot of acronyms here. MIC. Okay, MIC. Okay, there we go. I got the wrong acronym there. We'll have a definitions page come out later on all those acronyms there. So this is the Missouri Innovation Campus. So I do want to let everybody know that we do have our pitch pub crawl, our annual pitch pub crawl, that will actually be in person and will actually be a pub crawl this year. Yay! Instead of doing virtual. So that'll be July 15th, 5 p.m. We start at Smoke. So 9 companies will compete, if you're not familiar with that. But 9 companies will compete at 3 different bars, and then we will have the finals at Bridge Space in downtown Lee Summit. We also have lunch sponsored by the Smoothie Shop and Supplement Store. Tim Deeker and Kevin Oldham provided that, and we want to thank that. Also, if you don't mind, go to Facebook and tag yourself, tag the location, and that always helps. But you can go to Velocity Leaf Summit around all of our events, but we typically have events on the third Thursday. This happens to be the third Thursday, just because we didn't want to do it in the evening. We usually do them in the evening, though. And we also have many other programs, such as our mentoring program, that you can sign up through our website. So I think I've gotten through all the fun announcements that I need to do. And I want to hand it off to Joe Mullins with UCM, and he is the director of the...
Whatever.
Okay, we're going to give him a long, big title, but okay, he'll tell us what his title is.
Yeah, I don't want people to know what I do. I'm Joe Mullins with the University of Central Missouri. This is our... Oh, I got to be up there. Okay. We're happy to have Velocity here, showcasing our mixed reality studio. We just launched this back in, November, I believe. And so really what we wanted to do was create a spot where entrepreneurs, students, and faculty can come out, utilize the equipment, build applications, and get the experience in both classroom training and whatever else people want to do. So we have partnered with Velocity, and as people want to come in and build apps, build their company, they can work with both us and Velocity to do that. So today we have Jeff Danley and Lauren Hayes, who's going to speak a little bit about what she's doing in the education space. But really today what we're going to do is we'll have a few presentations, and then what we're going to do is, like an open house, where you can just come around, and we have a lot of stations around the room, and we have different equipment in each of the stations. Right now, our core pieces of equipment are the Oculus Quest, the HTC Vives. We also have the HoloLens 2s. We have the Magic Leaps. We're in the process of purchasing about another $150,000 worth of equipment, which includes the Oculus Quest 2s, the HP Reverbs, the Vue6 M4000s, and then we're doing some drone work. And HTC has a new piece of equipment that we're looking at. We're trying to get away from those pieces of equipment that you actually have to have a computer tied to it. We're trying to move to more of the standalone devices. And so that's kind of what our next round of purchases will be. So today, after all the presentations, you guys can stick around. We'll try to get you in a headset and look at some of the applications that are here. Jeff Danley's the expert I lean on all the time, and he'll be up here later to speak. And that's really want to welcome you here. And again, my name's Joe Mullins. I'll be around the whole time, and we'll probably have people coming and going throughout the 2 hours or so on. Lauren Hayes is a faculty member here at UCM, and she's doing some creative things with teachers. And so she's going to speak real briefly. I kind of put her on the spot. She didn't have something prepared, but she can add it.
That's very true. So forgive me if it's not up to par. Well, as Joe said, I am Lauren Hayes. I am an assistant professor of educational technology here at UCM. And I have been working with teachers and hope to do more of that in the future, thinking about how they can incorporate AR and VR into their curriculum. So one thing that we've been doing, just thinking about kind of accessibility and how some of these headsets maybe are too expensive for school districts, is to think about 360 videos. Back at that station back there's also some Merge headsets, which are a lower price point with the Merge cubes. Those are used pretty widely in K-12 schools right now, but we'd also love to be able to get students and teachers using more of this equipment that we have here at the lab, especially high school students thinking about what they need for college and career readiness. So thank you, and I'll turn it back over to Joe.
All right, thanks, Lauren. And DJ, are you taking over now?
You can introduce Jeff.
No, you can.
All right. Well, one thing too I want to add is that we're working on some projects overseas, so we're able to take some stuff overseas and do some training overseas using this equipment. So it gives us an ability to really reach out and touch and use technology in the best possible way. So, but without further ado, I want to bring up Jeff Danley he is the head of innovation for VML YR. And it's a international digital marketing firm out of, based here in Kansas City. And Jeff gets to play with a lot of fun toys. So I'm gonna hand it off to Jeff.
Great, thank you, DJ. All right, so I do have a presentation prepared, but similar to Lauren, I'd rather just go rogue a little bit off script. So I'm going to talk about AR and VR and some of the commercial applications and how businesses are using this technology today. And it's a really exciting space because, first of all, it's evolving at a tremendously rapid pace. So the real world commercial applications expand every day with some of the new capabilities that we get. Let's see if I can jump into this presentation. And actually, I did want to touch on the educational value of something like VR and AR. So with virtual reality, you can literally go into a virtual world. It feels a lot like a game. A lot of people immediately, when they hear virtual reality, they think gaming. And a lot of the game mechanics are what enables us to create these experiences that help people with anything from training and learning new skills on the job site. We were talking earlier about potentially helping landscapers learn about how to use their equipment, right? KFC is using virtual reality to train their cooks. And one of the byproducts is, it's actually no byproducts. They're not wasting food and wasting grease to train these people how to use the equipment in their kitchen. And another educational aspect is travel. You know, back in my day when the teacher would roll in the cart, with the TV on it, we knew we were going to watch a video, and that might be a video on Rome, right? And Roman history, and maybe you get to see the Colosseum and all these fantastic places around Rome. With virtual reality, you could literally take a classroom and those kids could teleport and walk around the streets of Rome, and they could walk through the Colosseum and look up. When you look up, you see the sky or whatever is above you. You look down and see the ground, and you can physically walk, you can teleport, you can interact with different things, and you really feel like you're there. It's amazing how far this technology's come in the last few years. A lot of the technology in the VR headsets is very similar to some of the technology in our mobile phones. So the same accelerometers that in different mechanics, like the camera, even when you rotate your phone and the screen rotates, it's that technology that has been built into VR headsets that make it really sensitive and helps the VR system know where you are looking and what you're interacting with in that virtual reality experience. So Mark Zuckerberg, I like this quote: "Virtual reality was once the dream of science fiction, but the internet was also once a dream, and so were computers and smartphones." And Zuckerberg, he's really taking virtual reality to a whole new level. For anyone that has seen the movie Ready Player One, Mark Zuckerberg is actually building an ecosystem very similar to what you see in Ready Player One. He's building it's called Facebook Horizon, and it's essentially the universe in the movie Ready Player One. And then you as an individual or you as a company, you can go into that virtual universe and create your own world, right? That world could be horse racing, or it could be a virtual casino. It could be a virtual sushi shop. I mean, there's all kinds of things popping up, and it's really exciting to see what he's doing with that. A lot of that is coming to life in the Oculus Quest devices, which we've got a few of those that people will be able to take a look at here in just a little bit. Market predictions. This is a little bit dated. Forrester was predicting $52.3 million in, 52.3 million VR units in the U.S. By 2020. I think we've probably exceeded that. When this forecast was put together, most of the VR units were like what we've got back here with the HTC Vive. Thank you so much. But the HTC Vive connects to a computer. So it's an expensive piece of equipment. It requires an additional computer, typically a high-end gaming computer, to bring those experiences to life. And the reason we've seen greater adoption is with the Oculus Quest. That's a much less expensive device. It's got all of the sensors built into it. You don't have to have a separate computer. Those are really great for a classroom environment as well. I'm going to skip over some of this. Like I said, I was going to do some ad-libbing. Virtual reality. So my link was broken on this, but this case study is out on YouTube for anyone that wants to take a look at it. This is my favorite example of virtual reality and how we collaborated with Gatorade to create a virtual reality experience that feels a lot like a game, but we actually worked with Gatorade's sports science, their scientists, to learn about dehydration and what it's like to be dehydrated. And what we created was it's a football experience. We just took the HTC Vive goggles and put them on a football helmet. And when you are in the experience, it feels like a football game. You can reach down, grab a football, and there's targets moving across the field, and you've got to hit those targets. And in the background, where in most games you've got some kind of an indicator of how much life you have left, this indicator shows your level of hydration. And as your hydration starts to drop, you start to feel the experiences of being dehydrated. So you get things like tunnel vision and blurry vision, and your reaction times when you have another player approaching you, your reaction times are slower. So the goal was to help teen athletes recognize what it feels like to be dehydrated, so that then when they're actually playing the game, they can recognize those effects sooner, and they can get off the field and get the attention they need. Let's see, I think I've got a video on this one. This is not at all what I thought this was going to be. But it's good. I've got a similar video. So what we did with Napa Auto Parts, they had created they redesigned their physical retail stores. They had what they called their store of the future. And typically they would have their franchisees all come to one location, check out the new store layout, get everyone excited, and have a big kickoff. For this particular launch, what they wanted to do was showcase, there was some new technology they were deploying as well. So they wanted to have a more high impact, high tech feel to this presentation. So what they did was they had us scan the entire store in virtual reality, and then all the franchisees could put on their VR headset, and like I'm doing here, I can teleport around this store. It's kind of hard to drive here with one hand. So on the web, it's one thing. You can go in, you can turn around, you can teleport to all these different places. In the VR headset, you're literally walking up and down the aisles, and it's kind of fun for me to watch someone else when they're in this experience, because they're like a good little shopper and they're walking up and down the aisles and they're looking at the products. And then for almost everyone, they get to this moment where they realize it's kind of like the Matrix, and they wake up and they're like, oh, there are no aisles, and they start teleporting across the aisles and exploring the entire space. Okay, so now I'm going to shift over to augmented reality. Like I said, virtual reality, think of virtual reality as fully immersive. You can go into the experience, you've got the goggles on, you look up, you see the sky, you look down, you see the floor, and it can look like you're inside of a video game, it can look like you're inside the Roman Colosseum or some real world place. It can be very realistic, it feels very realistic. Augmented reality, on the other hand, augmented reality is superimposing virtual objects on the real world around you. All right, so and this can be anything from, I mentioned social media here, like social media filters, right, where people have got Snapchat and they've got the funny little bunny ears on their head or something like that. It could be the Pokemon Go game where you can see a little Pokemon creature on the floor in front of you. Some real world applications. This is where it gets exciting for me, when we start taking new technologies and bringing them together with other technologies and creating these experiences. So one of our clients is Sherwin, I'm sorry, I'll get Sherwin-Williams in a minute, United Rentals rather. And with United Rentals, one of the challenges they have is one of the most frequently rented pieces of equipment is a scissor lift, and people typically get the wrong size scissor lift, because if they're working on the lights in this room, they don't want to get a scissor lift that's too short, so they get one that's huge, and maybe it's too big for the space, or maybe that client is just overpaying and they don't need that size scissor lift. So what we created was an augmented reality application that measures the space around them. And this is all using a mobile phone, so no special equipment needed. So they can scan the space around them, and then they can place a scissor lift. So if it's a 10-foot scissor lift, they put that in the space, and it shows how high that scissor lift will reach. So they can size it in the space they're in, or outside on a wall if they're painting or something like that. So that was pretty exciting. A couple other types of augmented reality. And I've got some video examples here that we'll see in just a minute. But print media. So if you're in a retail location, we've probably all seen signs that have a QR code, right? With augmented reality, we can train the application to actually recognize an image, or maybe it's some text. And when the application recognizes that text, it can launch into an augmented reality application. So it could show, we could launch into the scissor lift application that I just mentioned, or it could play a product video. Again, I've got a couple examples of that here coming up. Mobile devices driving AR adoption. Like I mentioned previously, this space is accelerating so fast with advancements in technology. The latest iPhone, so the 12 Pro, has some technology in it called LiDAR. LiDAR, if you know how an Xbox Kinect works, the Xbox Kinect shoots out thousands of lasers, and that's what allows people to interact with that gaming system. Well, with LiDAR on the front of the phone, it actually shoots thousands of lasers out, and those lasers are measuring distance. So it watches to see when it bounces off from a wall and the response time to come back. And that allows this smartphone to have better computer vision. So it's not using AI to estimate, like if we're looking at this room, it's not estimating where the ceiling touches the wall. It's actually measuring. So it knows there's a certain angle and break point there, which allows us to do things like put an augmented reality mural on that wall, right? Or I've got an example coming up here where this one is with Sherwin-Williams. I can scan the room and it will calculate the surface area of the walls and tell me how much paint I need for that project. A little bit about Facebook Studio, I'll skip over that. Augmented reality hardware. So this is what's going to bring augmented reality to the masses in our everyday lives. And Joe's got some of this equipment here in the labs. There's a company called Vuzix, which didn't make it onto my presentation only because this presentation is a couple months old. But Vuzix is another company where they have AR glasses that look like almost like normal glasses, and it projects the augmented reality experience onto those glasses, so you see it on the, in the real world in front of you. As technology continues to evolve and get smaller, the equipment gets smaller. We've got 5G networks that are transmitting this data in real time, virtually in real time. You'll be able to wear glasses like this that won't look like some futuristic glasses. They'll look like normal glasses. And think about walking around somewhere like Times Square, right? And today, everyone sees all the same ads in Times Square. You got all these billboards blasting down at you. In the future, all of those billboards could be customized to you. It's similar to when you're browsing the web and you get advertisements that are tailored to you based on your browsing experience or your preferences. Maybe you don't want any ads, so you've got them turned off. My personal preference, but as a marketer, I've got to figure out all these other new ways to use the technology. But yeah, with glasses like this, you'll be able to have experiences that are very customized and tailored to you. New business models. I'm still blown away by this. Like, this is a couple years old. But so this popular game, Pokemon Go, so they, if you're not familiar with the game, they have these little Pokemon characters that just appear in the real world. You could go into the game, there's probably some here right now. They have these points of interaction called Pokestops and Pokegems, and they're anchored to physical locations in the real world, right? So maybe it's a sign, maybe a lot of city parks have these types of interaction points. And some stores do. And from a new business model perspective, I find it fantastically amazing that Niantic, the game publisher, created this game, and then they put these Pokestops at places like Sprint stores. Starbucks is another sponsor in the game. And then Starbucks and Sprint and several other locations, they pay money to have their brand represented in the game. Right? So they're already leasing that store. That's their physical store, but now they're paying money to have that brand show up in the game. And that just blows me away. But I think it's kind of foreshadowing where we're going from a digital economy and in the real world and having these virtual overlays. This isn't in my presentation, but there are companies now that are also selling it's virtual real estate and it's mapped to the real world. So if you've heard about NFTs, that I could do a whole nother presentation on NFTs. I won't get too far into that. But NFTs are digital assets that you can purchase. They're logged on the blockchain, so they're unique. And there's a serial number assigned, and you can buy virtual real estate that's associated with a real world location. And in the near future, I think what we're going to see is people can put augmented realities at that real world location. So think about somewhere like the Super Bowl. Like, people have gone out and bought up all of these NFL stadiums. They've bought up the virtual real estate in certain applications associated with those stadiums. So if someone like Wendy's wanted to, have it raining hamburgers or whatever, whatever kind of application they would want, they could turn on that type of application in these that type of experience in these applications when you're at that physical location. Okay, case studies. So this first one, I'll just show a few of these videos, but this first video I mentioned earlier, Sherwin-Williams. So this application So when you launch into it, this is using the LiDAR technology in the iPhone 12 Pro. And it's a little bit slow here, but what you'll see when we start, if you tap start here, okay. So it starts calculating the surface area of the walls. And this is taking physical measurements with these lasers that are in the camera portion of the phone, and it is calculating the surface area. We're going to update this to allow you to take out windows. It's calculating the computer monitor here in front of him as well, but it picks up so much information, and it's calculating the sizes and surface area of basically every surface that it sees. Like I said, from a user experience perspective, we need to streamline that a little bit. But it's pretty impressive to be able to use, a smartphone that people are carrying around in their pocket and use it to do something like calculate the surface area of your walls.
Was to recruit 850 medical students worthy of a Defence Force University scholarship. But how do you find the best?
All right, you guys probably can't hear that audio. I'll give this a quick voiceover. This is an example of of an AR experience that's tied to print media. So this is a project we worked on with the Defense Ministry of Australia, and they're training their mobile medics, and they had these different posters available in several different facilities, and from their mobile application you could point the screen at these posters, and it would launch into this augmented reality experience that allowed them to interact with different medical devices and basically diagnose the patient. It was kind of like a quiz. They could diagnose the patient and then determine what needed to be done, what were the next steps they needed to take with that particular patient. I'm going to skip over this one, but real quick, this was an activation we did with Dell at South by Southwest just a couple years ago. It's very similar to Pokemon Go, where we created these experiences that were tied to the real world. They wanted to create something that encouraged people to walk around the city of Austin and check out some of the different physical locations around Austin. So we created a virtual golf course. And you would swing your phone, that was your golf club, and then based on how the direction you swung your phone and the velocity, you'd hit a virtual ball, and then you'd have to go find that ball and get it into the hole. Gatorade Dunk. This one was really cool. I wish the audio would work on this one.
What started as a spontaneous Super Bowl moment 30 years ago has grown into an iconic
You
symbol
guys
of
hear
victory
that?
that has become a part of American pop culture. And every year on Super Bowl Sunday, the Gatorade Dunk is viewed by millions, but only experienced by a select few. This year, we not only wanted to let every fan see the dunk, but experience it for themselves. So we created an augmented reality experience that leveraged the native lens functionality and facial recognition of Snapchat. The Snapchat Gatorade Dunk went live the day of the Super Bowl and quickly spread across all social channels. And just like some big game broadcast spots, soon celebrities, dogs, and even babies got in on the action. And by the time the actual Gatorade Dunk happened at the end of the game, our augmented dunk was seen by more people than the Super Bowl itself. With over 165 million views and over 8 million user-generated videos, it was the biggest ad of the Super Bowl, and it never even appeared on TV.
Yeah, like I said, that's one of my favorite use cases and case studies rather. But with social media, it just kind of speaks to the reach and the impact you can have when you really do a social media activation right. Having more people see that experience than people actually watching the Super Bowl, I mean, that's pretty amazing. This one, this is kind of a long video, so I'm not going to jump into the video on this one, but if you go down to Union Station, they've got an application called Living History, and we built this using a couple of different technologies. So we identify the location of your mobile device, so using GPS, so we know that you're at Union Station, and then we use Bluetooth beacons for more of a micro location awareness. So we know like what, where specifically within Union Station you are at. And we used some green screen programming and green screen filming rather, and programmed this application to recreate these different scenes and different events that happened at Union Station. So this was something we built for them for the 100th anniversary of Union Station. So, there's one experience where Harry Truman delivers a speech. So you can actually see through the lens of your phone where Harry Truman was standing, and you see this person step in that delivers this speech, and it's really cool. And then you can jump into the scene and take your picture with Harry Truman and all these other actors that we had in there as well. It's pretty amazing.
Something about.
Okay, that's it.